Advanced pre-flood civilizations that history books don't mention. Across the ancient world, from Egypt to Peru, archaeologists have discovered something impossible. Perfectly drilled holes through granite and basalt stones so hard they challenge even modern tools. How could primitive civilizations have created such precision engineering? By the end of this video, you'll see evidence that challenges everything mainstream archaeology tells us about our ancient past. So stay tuned for revelations that might change how you view human history. Imagine a world where gods walked among humans, where technology rivaled or even surpassed our own, and where legendary beings of immense stature and power shaped the course of early civilization. These aren't just fantastical stories. They're at the heart of what many ancient cultures described as pre-flood civilizations. The most intriguing figures in these ancient accounts are perhaps the Anunnaki, whose very name translates to those who came from heaven to earth. In Sumerian mythology, these weren't ordinary deities. They were described as offspring of Anu and Ki, the sky god and earth goddess, creating a perfect symbolic union of celestial and terrestrial powers. What's fascinating is how the Anunnaki mirror other mythological beings across different cultures. They bear striking similarities to the Nephilim mentioned in biblical traditions, mysterious beings described as the offspring of angels and human women. Both groups are portrayed as bringing advanced knowledge to humanity while simultaneously causing disruption through their presence on Earth.
The sons of God came into the daughters of men. They created a hybrid offspring who are called the Nephilim, or the fallen ones.
The Book of Enoch, considered too controversial to be included in the biblical canon, provides some of the richest details about these pre-flood beings. It describes how 200 rebellious angels called the Watchers descended to earth from their heavenly abode. These Watchers weren't content to merely observe humanity. They became enamored with human women and took them as wives. According to these ancient texts, the Watchers shared previously unknown arts and sciences with humans. One called Azazel taught men weaponry and women cosmetics. Shemihazar shared knowledge of plants and herbal medicines. Others taught astronomy, meteorology, and other advanced sciences. This wasn't divine inspiration. This was organized education. The offspring of these unions weren't ordinary humans. The Nephilim were described as giants who consumed enormous amounts of food, eventually turning against humanity when resources grew scarce. These weren't benevolent teachers, but became fearsome predators. What's particularly striking is how these stories appear in different forms across multiple civilizations. The Greek titans, like the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, were powerful beings who rebelled and were ultimately punished. In Greek mythology, the titans were imprisoned in Tartarus, the same word used in biblical texts to describe where fallen angels were confined. Mount Hermon appears repeatedly in these accounts as a significant location. Both ancient Mesopotamian texts and the Book of Enoch identify this mountain as the place where these divine beings established their earthly presence. Gilgamesh, himself described as two-thirds god and of impressive stature, reportedly traveled to Mount Hermon seeking pre-flood wisdom. Virtually every ancient culture maintains a flood myth that divides history into distinct eras. The Sumerian Genesis, biblical Noah's story, the Greek tale of Deucalion, and the Hindu account of Manu all describe a catastrophic deluge that destroyed an earlier world. In these narratives, the pre-flood world is consistently portrayed as advanced, but morally corrupt, with close interactions between humans and divine beings. These stories typically feature a righteous survivor who preserves initial knowledge. Utnapishtim in Mesopotamian tradition, Noah in Genesis, Deucalion in Greek mythology, they all serve as bridges between the pre-flood and post-flood worlds, carrying fragments of antediluvian wisdom forward. What became of these celestial beings? According to most accounts, they met harsh fates. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers being bound in Earth's valleys for 70 generations. Greek mythology tells us the Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus. Even divine beings, it seems, couldn't escape the consequences for their actions. The connection between these various traditions suggests they may all be cultural interpretations of the same events, glimpses into a forgotten chapter of human history when something extraordinary shaped our earliest civilizations. These mythological accounts are fascinating, but what physical evidence might support the existence of advanced pre-flood civilizations? Let's examine some of the most compelling archaeological anomalies that have left researchers scratching their heads. Deep in Ecuador's Amazon rainforest lies the Cave of Secrets, or Cueva de los Teos, where adventurer Juan Moritz claimed to have discovered something extraordinary in the mid-20th century. According to Moritz, beneath the dense jungle was a vast underground labyrinth stretching for hundreds of miles. Inside this subterranean world, golden artifacts, walls covered in mysterious hieroglyphs, advanced machinery, and perhaps, most intriguingly, an entire library of metal books. The metal books are particularly fascinating. If they existed, they would suggest an advanced civilization that had developed metallurgical knowledge far beyond what conventional history attributes to them. Swiss author Erich von Däniken featured these claims in his 1973 book Gold of the Gods, connecting them to his theories about extraterrestrial visitors influencing early human development. When scientists investigated, however, the results were disappointing. A major expedition in 1976, which included none other than astronaut Neil Armstrong, found no evidence of the treasures Moritz described. But they did discover something curious. Neatly cut passageways twisting deep into the cave system, estimated to be more than 2,500 years old. How were these perfectly formed tunnels created, and by whom? The question remains unanswered. The precision stonework found at various ancient sites presents another compelling mystery. Take the ruins of Hattusa in Turkey, the former capital of the Hittite Empire. Here, researchers have documented perfectly circular drill holes in granite and basalt, stones so hard they could challenge even modern tools. These holes appear to have been made with tube drills, technology that conventional archaeology doesn't attribute to ancient civilizations. Even more baffling are the evenly spaced saw marks found on the stone blocks, which resemble those made by high-speed mechanical saws rather than traditional hand tools. Curiously absent are the chisel marks you'd expect to find in ancient stonework. Similar unexplained cutting techniques have been documented at sites in Peru like Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo. Now here's the question. Have you ever wondered what tools those ancient builders might have used to achieve such precision? Could they have possessed technology that was subsequently lost after a global cataclysm? Before hitting the comments with your answer, be sure to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Underwater discoveries provide some of the most tantalizing evidence of pre-flood civilizations. In 2007, archaeologists discover what's now called the Lake Michigan Stonehenge, a circular arrangement of stones 40 feet beneath the surface with carvings that appear to depict mastodons, which went extinct around 10,000 years ago. If authentic, these carvings would place human activity in the region during the last ice age, potentially aligning with pre-flood timelines. China's Sanxingdu culture represents another archaeological anomaly. Discovered in the 1980s, this 3,000-year-old site has yielded bizarre bronze figures with alien-like features, golden masks, and evidence of advanced metallurgical techniques. Unlike any other artifacts found in China, these objects suggest a highly sophisticated civilization that seems to have appeared without precedent and disappeared just as mysteriously. What makes these discoveries particularly intriguing is their isolation. They don't fit neatly into our understanding of technological progression. The conventional archaeological narrative suggests gradual advancement over time, but these artifacts hint at civilizations that possessed knowledge seemingly beyond their time. Perhaps one of the most famous potential repositories of pre-flood knowledge lies beneath the Great Sphinx of Giza. Ground-penetrating radar has detected anomalies suggesting chambers beneath this enigmatic monument. Could these hidden spaces contain evidence of an earlier, more advanced civilization that existed before recorded Egyptian history? These mysterious sites and inexplicable artifacts challenge our understanding of human history, while mainstream archaeology offers alternative explanations for each anomaly. Taken together, they paint a compelling picture of sophisticated ancient societies whose achievements we are only beginning to understand. So what do we make of these mysterious artifacts and structures? If advanced pre-flood civilizations existed, and why is evidence so scarce? This is where several compelling theories emerge, each attempting to explain the puzzling archaeological anomalies we've explored. The lost technology hypothesis suggests that ancient civilizations possessed sophisticated knowledge and tools that were subsequently lost after a cataclysmic event. This theory points to the precision stonework at sites like Hattusa, where perfectly drilled holes and saw marks in granite and basalt seem impossible to create with primitive tools. Some researchers argue this knowledge wasn't uniformly distributed across ancient societies, but was concentrated among elite groups, possibly the very beings described in mythology as the Anunnaki or Nephilim. British engineer Christopher Dunn has extensively analyzed Egyptian artifacts, including those from the Great Pyramid, and concluded that some show evidence of machining techniques that would challenge even modern methods. The perfectly flat surfaces of granite boxes from the Serapeum Saqqara, with tolerance within a 10,000th of an inch, suggest technology far beyond simple copper chisels and dolerite pounding stones. But how could advanced knowledge simply disappear? History shows that technological regression is entirely possible. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe lost numerous technologies that weren't recovered for centuries. Now, imagine a global flood or a similar catastrophe wiping out the vast majority of the human population. Surviving groups would likely retain only the most immediately useful knowledge for survival. The extraterrestrial influence theory takes a different approach. Proponents like Erich von Däniken suggest that beings from other worlds visited Earth in ancient times, sharing advanced knowledge with early humans and possibly even engaging in genetic engineering. These visitors, they argue, became the basis for myths about gods and celestial beings, like the Anunnaki. This theory attempts to explain why seemingly advanced technologies appear suddenly in the archaeological record without clear evolutionary precursors. The massive stone structures of Baalbek in Lebanon, with individual blocks weighing up to 800 tons, still challenge explanation. How were they moved and placed with such precision using ancient methods? Mainstream scientific perspectives remain skeptical of both these frameworks. Archaeologists point out that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that alternative explanations exist for most anomalies. The precision stonework at sites like Hattusa could be explained by patient craftsmanship and techniques we've simply lost record of, rather than high technology. Dating represents another significant challenge. Many potential pre-flood structures lack organic material for carbon dating, making their age difficult to determine with certainty. The weathering patterns on the Great Sphinx, which geologist Robert Schoch argues indicates water erosion from a time when Egypt received heavy rainfall prior to 5000 BCE, remain controversial precisely because dating stone weathering is notoriously difficult. The search for definitive proof continues, with technological advances offering new hope. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery, and underwater archaeology are revealing previously hidden structures around the world. Recent discoveries like the massive complex at Gobekli Tepe in Turkey, dating around 9600 BCE and showing sophisticated construction techniques, continue to push back our understanding of when humans developed complex societies. Perhaps most fascinating are the implications for human history if pre-flood civilizations truly existed. The conventional timeline of human technological development would need radical revision. Rather than a steady march from primitive to advanced, human history might better resemble a sine wave, rising to heights of knowledge, falling after catastrophes, and then slowly rebuilding. This pattern would explain why similar myths of advanced ancient societies appear across disconnected cultures worldwide. These wouldn't be mere stories, but fragmented cultural memories of actual civilizations lost to time and disaster. Whether you find yourself convinced by the evidence for pre-flood civilizations or remain skeptical, one thing is undeniable. These mysteries continue to captivate our imagination because they challenge our understanding of who we are and where we came from. They remind us that history isn't a closed book, but an ongoing investigation with many chapters still to be discovered. As we continue to explore remote regions of our planet, develop more sophisticated archaeological techniques, and perhaps even venture to other worlds, we may yet find more definitive answers about our distant past and the possibility that advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times throughout Earth's long history. If you've enjoyed this exploration of pre-flood civilizations and their mysteries, share your thoughts in the comments down below. We'd love to hear your theories, and we've got plenty of other videos for you to watch in the end screens.